This podcast is meant for general health information and is not meant to override any medical advice. All questions will be screened and not contain any personal information. If you want a private consultation, contact us via positivechoice.org, or you can contact your provider directly. Thank you and enjoy the episode.
Hello and welcome to the Positive Choice Wellness Podcast. My name is Melanie and I'm an exercise physiologist.
And my name is Kimberly and I'm a registered dietitian.
Happy summer day.
Yeah.
I was like, it's hot and miserable outside.
It's cooking. It is literally hot and miserable.
Which I don't know. I laugh at that too, because like for us, we're like, it's 91. It's so warm. And that's not even at the coast. This is like inland. So like this is rough. Whereas
100%.
I'm from Fresno. This is not that hot.
Yeah, you're like, we're gonna be just fine. Yeah,
I'm just thin skinned now. I'm like, it's so hot. It's because I've lived here for 13 years.
I was gonna say your tolerance adapted quickly, right?
Oh yeah.
True.
So now I can't handle the heat. Can't do it. Don't like it.
Neither can I.
But that's okay. That's okay. We will make it through.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, Kimberly, what brings you joy today?
Okay, I got a fun one for this.
Tell me.
For anyone who doesn't know, Melanie here is a wonderful chef. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
And
I'm not professionally trained, by the way. I'm not a chef. I'm a cook.
Okay. I didn't realize there was a difference. There you go. That's a fun fact. You cook.
I do.
But I have a recipe demo class I am doing next week. And you sent me some recipes to use for said class. And I made them for dinner to practice because I'm honestly really nervous. Anyway, they are a delight.
Yay!
So that was what brought me joy, was delicious dinner last night.
Yay!
Good recipes. So thanks for that. It was fun. And I felt fancy. I felt like a chef, even though, I can't even call myself a cook probably. But so it was great. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome. I'm glad that you enjoyed those recipes because I also make them all the time in my own house. So.
100%, right? I know these ones, I don't know if you remember, it was like a salad with a great dressing, and it was a stuffed chicken breast and like a lemon quinoa. So good.
The lemon basil quinoa, and it was a spinach and basil stuffed chicken, and then
with feta.
Yeah, and then the arugula and strawberry salad.
Yes, so good. I was like, I can do hard things. It was fun. Anyway,
yay!
I know, right? But what about you? What brings you joy?
Oh boy. So what brings me joy is I'm going to go back to my nerdery, and I'm going to share that not only did I have D&D this last weekend, I'm having it this weekend. So I'm so excited. Dungeons and Dragons.
Awesome. A marathon, weekend marathons.
That's a Dungeons and Dragons sandwich. I'm so happy.
That's awesome. That sounds so fun.
Yeah, so it's been good. I've been really enjoying it. It's a great little social outlet for me, and they're two different groups. So like, there's a couple of overlapping people, but most people are different. So it's nice. I get to see different people and socialize, and
super fun. Are you the master of them both? I don't remember the term.
I am. I'm the dungeon master.
Dungeon
the DM
master. Nice. Okay, cool.
Yep. So we're a rare breed. There's not many of us around. A lot of people don't want to do this. So
I'm sure
me, it's kind of fun though, because I'm like, I can just kind of do whatever I want. It's kind of nice.
So much freedom with it. Totally.
I know, because I have no stakes in the game. I'm like, I'm going to make your lives as miserable as possible. This is great. I love it.
That's awesome.
As much as I would love to talk about Dungeons and Dragons all day, I won't. I'm going to actually change our topic. So, but that does bring me a lot of joy. So what I would like to talk about actually, so Kimberly and I were brainstorming before this episode, because what we're finding is, there's a lot of people talking about protein these days, and they're talking about strength training, and they're talking about label reading and plateaus and all this stuff we've talked about recently. And then we thought about it. And we're like, we haven't talked about carbs or sugar in a long time. So I thought it'd be nice to kind of bring that back up, revisit it, and just chat about it. A little bit of the ins and outs of carbs and sugar, considering this is really your wheelhouse here, Kimberly, and we've been in my wheelhouse for a while. So let's shift it over to you now.
Let's switch. Let's talk about food. I love it.
Yay!
It's so true though, right? Like, protein is so trendy right now, which don't get us wrong, it's important. That's why we did a whole episode on it, right? We definitely need it, but with all the trendiness that goes about it, sometimes we let other things slip through the cracks or not prioritize them, right? So we got to think about that balance piece. We need it.
Exactly.
The carbs and the fat and all that still.
Yeah. And one of the things that I'll start off with before we dive into the topic is just to preface this by saying that this is not going to be a conversation about how we should avoid fat. And I don't want anyone to leave this conversation thinking that, because I'm not going to say don't eat it, because I grew up in a lifestyle like that. I'm not going to do that again. One. And two, it is essential. We do need it. So it's just finding the right balance and not accidentally overdoing it. Because one of the things that can happen is fat can kind of slowly accumulate in the meals that we cook and end up adding extra calories that we don't anticipate. And on top of that, there's so many different kinds. What even is good, you know? And so that'd be, you know, some stuff to understand before we dive into our conversation.
Yes, I love that preface for sure. For sure. Fat is important, often gets a bad rep because of its name, obviously, but also because it is what we would call calorically dense, right? So you don't get as big of a volume of it for, you know, the calories that you do then get for it. So it can be sneaky, creepy, right? Creep up on the calorie number for us sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. So between the two, I'll let you decide, Kimberly. Do you want to start with fat or you want to start with the carbs and sugar conversation? Because you get to pick. Well,
let's start with fat since we were just talking about how we...
I'm not mad about
that. Perfect. Fat brings flavor, right? Speaking of cook, like that's why...
Of course.
You know, that's what gives our food flavor. So we need it. We need it.
That's also why, like, when you dine out, it's always a conundrum of why is my food so much tastier in this restaurant than it is at home? Because they're adding way more oils and fats to your meals there than you are in your own house. Guaranteed.
Yes. I have heard, I don't know if this is true. I have heard that restaurants use a lot of butter because butter coats your tongue from like the first bite. And then it makes every bite thereafter also equally as delicious. So anyway, I would have to do some digging on that one, but I wouldn't doubt it, right? Like they would use a lot of, you know,
I mean, I don't know that myself, but I would not doubt that either. It sounds very plausible because I was thinking like, I do like butter. That is a good idea. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, totally. Yeah. Anyway, interesting.
Well, that's interesting. So when we talk about fat, obviously you're the dietitian here, so I can let you take the lead, but I'm very passionate about it for obvious reasons. I kind of grew up in that like fat-free lifestyle of the late 80s, early 90s where like fat was taboo. You're not supposed to have it. So
totally.
I kind of grew up in a lifestyle where I wasn't eating a lot of it. And it's been so interesting watching it vacillate back and forth between like, it's bad. Now it's like all the rage. Now it's like, it's kind of okay. And so I think it'd be helpful to clarify there's different types of fats we can talk about. Because when you mention butter, that's a very different type of fat than, let's say, olive oil, right?
Right, exactly. And such a good point. So there is what we would consider to be healthy fats and less healthy fats, right? Yeah. So let's dig into less healthy first, I guess, since we're mentioning butter. So less healthy fats are going to be our saturated fats, okay? And a quick identifier is that they're solid at room temperature. So think things like coconut oil and butter, obviously, things like that, versus our healthier fats like olive oil, avocado oil are all liquid at room temperature. So that's kind of a quick identifier. I feel like that makes it helpful.
Yeah.
And now saturated fats, fun fact, we need some. The problem is they're like super prevalent in our diet and we can get too much, right? Like you can get too much of anything even that's good. Saturated fat, we want to be mindful of how much we're having, not want to overdo it, right? And that's going to come down to the whole cholesterol perspective, right? We want to make sure that we keep our cholesterol levels nice and healthy, but
yeah. Well, it's interesting you're bringing that up because that's kind of what saturated fat in excess will do. It will raise your cholesterol. And I know like such interesting stuff about fats just because I find it fascinating because maybe it was just because I was shielded from it for so long. I was like, I have to know all about it.
Totally.
But one thing to be very clear about is the cholesterol in our food, just to add to this conversation, is not the same thing as eating too much saturated fat and building up cholesterol in your body. We don't eat cholesterol and then make it. It doesn't work that way. So like you can eat cholesterol. It's not doing anything to you. Whereas if you eat too much saturated fat, i.e. you're like, I love butter. And then you eat like a whole stick of butter. You're going to be getting a lot of higher LDL cholesterol in your system as a result of that.
Right. Exactly. And such a good distinction for us. Yeah. I honestly tell people that it's called dietary cholesterol, right? The kind that you see listed on the nutrition fact label. It's not really worth paying attention to that number. I think there's a general recommendation of don't have more than like 200 milligrams in a day, but it does not actually affect the cholesterol levels in your blood. So it's not vital to, focus on really.
Yeah, I tell people if you see on a label it says cholesterol, it's really more useful to determine, is this an animal-based product or not? Because cholesterol is found in animal products.
Yep, there you go. Also a simple identifier for us, definitely.
Yep, so that's really the use of it on a label. Otherwise, ignore it. So that's the good news. But yeah, too much saturated fat is problematic, but you're absolutely correct. We do need some. I like to bring people back to like high school biology or even like junior high biology if you didn't take it in high school, because some people don't. Where if anyone recalls, we have cell membranes versus cell walls. Cell walls are found in plants. Cell membranes are found in animals. And cell membranes, or really just living, moving, breathing organisms, I should say. But cell membranes are made of what we call a phospholipid bilayer. Y'all remember that? Woo! Yes.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding. Those little like balls with the noodly legs on them. So like they always drew them out and I was like, they look like clothespins. They're just weird looking. They do.
But I don't know why that tickled me, but that was funny.
Because it's silly. But what's important about the membrane is it's made of a teeny tiny microscopic layer of saturated fat. And so it's encapsulating our cell. And if we know a little bit about fat, if you know oil and water don't mix, well, you are mostly water. So as a result, your cell membrane are fat. So they don't let things in and out of the cell just all willy-nilly. So it has to have a little bit of control, like what nutrients are going into the cell. What is the, waste products the cell is releasing? It's not losing stuff that it doesn't want to lose. It's really crucial for our functionality and our survival. So that's why we don't want to say no fat. We actually do want some fat, and we do want even a little bit of saturated fat, just being mindful of how much is too much. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's the key, really. So for anyone who's like, well, what's that number? The generic recommendation is 10% of your calories for the day or less should come from saturated fat. I think the American Heart Association even says more like 5 to 6% of your
6%,
calories.
yeah.
6%. Okay. Coming from your whole day's calories should be saturated fat. So obviously we get a budget for them. But as you can imagine, the culture that we live in, a lot of convenient foods and processed foods are high in saturated fat. Because like we were talking, yay flavor. So it's very easy to find saturated fat in the diet. You do not have to try to get it in. As a matter of fact, we should try to have less. So, main contributors, like you say, animal-based products, especially things like butter. Coconut oil would be one of the few plant-based sources.
And palm oil, which is more in processed food than something you would buy. But yeah,
thank you for saying that. Yes, palm oil. That's a good one to keep an eye on for as well. Whole fat dairy, right? Red meat, skin on poultry, stuff like that is going to be our bacon, ham, like the processed meats.
I told my class on Tuesday night, it's my young group. I was like, cheese. And they're like, no. And it was just like, you could hear everyone's hearts break.
Everyone's like, yeah, devastation. Yeah. But hey,
is it a protein? I'm like,
everyone so badly wants cheese and peanut butter to be a source of protein, if only. Isn't that so funny? But hey, they get a budget for it, right? So if you want your saturated fat to come from cheese, well, there you go.
Yeah, you could pick your battles. So like, hey, to each their own, right? But it's to remind people that cheese is not a protein. It's mostly a fat. And also fat-free cheese, I don't know what it is, but it's not cheese. So I can tell you that right now, because how you make cheese, it requires fat. So it's kind of weird to see fat-free cheese. I'm like, well, that's odd.
I know. My brain just goes to like ultra processed cheese. I don't know, right? But I don't know, what the foundation of it would be. Yeah.
It's, I think it's a lot of tapioca starch, because fat is what makes cheese cheese. They use a lot of starches and other things that don't have fat in them to make it bind together, because you're basically you're basically making yogurt into cheese, which is not exactly easy to do. So
right. So you have to add a lot of binders and stuff. Ooh, interesting. Gross.
Yeah. So stick with low fat cheese if you're going to do cheeses. There you go. You still have cheese as low fat cheese. And hey, low fat string cheese, I would argue, is close enough to be almost a really decent source of protein. So we can throw that into the mix of that one's okay.
True.
So the big thing is, not overdoing the saturated fats, being mindful of that, but not overdoing fats in general either. Like the liquid oils still have calories.
Yes, right. Even the good stuff. So we have to be mindful all around. And just because, to your point, low volume but high calorie is really what happens when it comes to our fats. I mean, a standard serving size of avocado, I think, is an 1/8, which is a little preposterous. Most people don't. It's like a tease, right? Most people don't just have an 1/8 of an avocado. But that's just my example of like the portion sizes are small, the calories are large. So yes, still eat the fats, still have the healthy ones, prioritize them, but be mindful of how much you're having, right? You don't want to glug your oil into your food that you're cooking or whatever.
Yeah. And I say this too, because like I've seen it happen. My coworkers have done this. I've watched it happen at my clinic. So like people do this all the time. We're like, well, I have an avocado tree, so my lunch is a whole avocado. And I'm like, okay. That's depending on the size of the avocado, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 calories, just fat. So you're not really getting a lot of extra goodies. You're not getting protein or anything like that. It's strictly fat, maybe a little bit of fiber, but that's why, like, I get it. I'm an avocado girl. I love avocados, but
same.
I recognize that we can't eat a whole avocado. It's just not feasible for our goals in life. And so,
exactly. Yeah.
Like, if it makes your life better and you have to have one, hey, you can. I'm not saying you can't, but
absolutely.
But recognize that is a really hefty source of calories. That's the main thing.
Yeah, for just not a lot of bang for your buck, like, again, strictly speaking, volume wise, like if you could dip a whole lot of vegetables into, squish that avocado up and dip a bunch of veggies in there, now you're going to be fuller for a lot longer, right? Because you got some fiber, some more volume in your stomach. But yeah, that's so funny. That just makes me think of a quick anecdote where someone was watching my oldest son, and I wasn't in the room. I was like gone for something, whatever, came back, and they had fed him an entire avocado for lunch because they couldn't think of anything else to give him. I was like, my fridge is full of food. You couldn't think of anything else. It was so funny.
Well, I'm sure he's grown accustomed to avocado now and might become one. So
he does. He does like it a lot. Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's good. He knows what he likes. I like it.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, like I say that because really a serving of fat typically is about 40 calories for a teaspoon of oil, which is why an 1/8 of an avocado falls into that category, because that's how much 40 calories is. So it's like, that's generally what we consider a serving of fat. And we don't want too much. Like too much will basically be adding calories, because for every 1 gram, there's 9 calories. So you can do the math. It starts adding up pretty quickly. And like when you were mentioning, like people like glugging oil in the pan and like not measuring it. And that's what I tell people too. I'm like, if you don't measure your oil out when you cook, there's a very distinct possibility you're adding more calories than you expect to add. Like, let's think about it. If you just blindly pour and don't measure, you could easily put a 1/4 cup of oil in your pan easily. And that is 480 calories.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just the oil alone is almost 500 calories, and you haven't even put food in the pan yet. So that's why it is important to pay attention, watching the serving sizes.
Absolutely.
And, not that these oils are bad, like they're fine. It's just don't use too much. Be mindful of how much you're using.
Yeah. That's literally all it comes down to. Balance. We just want to be mindful of portions, right? Kind of like with anything, honestly. The only thing I would say we don't want to be mindful of portion wise, because we don't need any whatsoever, would be our trans fats.
Yes. Absolutely.
Red flag. We don't need those at all. Right.
Yeah.
That's our, exactly. Put those back. I usually like to say that they're in like the more, granted, a little aside, it's in process to get out of our food supply, right? It's just not like 100% of the way there. So I like to say the more processed a food is, the more likely it is to contain the trans fats, So if you think of like margarine or ready-made frosting or ready-made pie dough, I don't know. Those are things that can have that trans
anything
fats
that's pre-made, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I did this also in my class the other night too. It's like, I'm gonna be a jerk. I'm doing it right now. I'm gonna be a jerk. So guess what?
Perfect.
I'm gonna burst everyone's bubbles right now and make you feel real sad.
Here we go.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Get your tissues. Okay. So trans fats, right? They're still technically removing them from things like in our diets. Like they're still out there, but not as prominent as they used to be. So it's like, it's getting better. Right. So we're thinking, oh, cool. So they follow through. No, they didn't. You know why? If you deep fry anything, it does not matter what it is. If it hits a fryer full of oil, you are creating trans fats. So unfortunately, the way you make them is the way we fry food. So that's something that will always be in our diets, whether we want it or not. We know fried food exists. It's going to be there. And so it's just being aware of that and knowing, okay, so we know fried food. I think we can all argue fried food's not a health food, but when we're splurging and we want to have it every now and again, it's fine. It's just recognizing that there are trans fats in that as a result of the fact that it's just fried. Even if it's fried zucchini, it's still fried.
Yes. Yeah. Fried anything, right? Even if it's a fried health food. Yeah. That's why, not uncommon in the health world when we talk about deep fried foods as a no-no. Yeah.
So
totally.
that's my, I'm sorry to make you all sad.
I know. Sorry to burst
I'm not
the
really
bubbles.
like, sorry, not sorry. Cause like now I'm just gonna make you healthier. So like, I don't know.
Exactly. Wouldn't you rather know? Wouldn't you rather know?
But that's how I could make people a little sadder than they were when they started this episode. So, so that's the big thing, is just limiting fried foods and not having too much fat, minimal saturated fats if we can, limiting those, having kind of a balance in that.
Yeah. Big deal.
Now,
Definitely.
An argument I've heard from people too, because a few articles have come out, is about seed oils. And I'm sure you've heard about seed oils.
Plentiful. Yes.
So what do you know about that?
Well, absolutely a hot topic, largely because they're high in omega-6, right? And omega-6 is considered an essential fatty acid, meaning we have to eat it. We need it, right along with omega-3s, actually. And I'm sure omega-3s is something that we've heard of too, right? So we actually need both of these. The reason why seed oils are so prominently talked about, largely because of social media, right? Yeah. Is because they are being blamed for our skewed ratio, right? Like we have a really what we talk about in health is an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. How much should you have proportion wise? We should have equal amounts, right? Like 1-to-1 ratio, but we can have up to 4 times more omega-3s than omega-6s, than we do omega-3s. So we can have a 4-to-1 ratio. The typical American right now gets somewhere between like 12 to 25 times more omega-6s than 3s.
Oh my gosh.
So it's really, really high.
Yeah.
In part because of our, I will say, not just seed oils, but like processed food consumption. That is what leads to our omega-6s being so high. So seed oils really just comes down to like being more mindful of having less processed food and having more of our omega-3s. This all has to do with inflammation in the body, by the way. That's like what it all boils down to. So you can absolutely have them, but it comes down to balance, portion, right? Like the reason why I argue to be cautious with seed oils is I don't really know people who are at home like pouring them in the pan, cooking with them. Most people that I know are getting them through ultra processed food, which is something that we want to cut back on anyway. So you can still have them, but moderation. We don't need to be flooding our system with them. You know? Yeah,
I mean, if you're cooking everything from scratch at home and you like, I happen to use sesame oil in here, like, you know what? Cool. Like, actually, fun fact, canola oil is a seed oil. So like, that's still fine. You can cook with that. It's when you go out to eat all the processed food and junk foods and things like that. That's where it starts to get problematic.
Exactly. When you're convenient all the time, right? Like the food is being made by somebody else in some capacity for you. That's when it starts to creep up. And to your point, if you cut all that stuff out and you cooked food at home, you'd have to find some sources of omega-6 to get into your day.
Yes,
you need to get some walnuts in. You'd need to, eat some egg yolks. So we still need it even in that case scenario, right?
Yeah. It's all balancing act. It's all a balancing act.
It really is.
Speaking of a balancing act, let's talk about carbs. I don't know how it's related to balancing, but I want to talk about it. And it felt like a really weird segue. So we're going to go with it.
Honestly, it was really great.
You know what? Let's go with it. It was intentional. Let's go. So sure. Yeah. Quote unquote intentional.
Hey, when you say it with enough gusto, you can sell anything. So good work.
I've learned that if you do anything with confidence, people will just think you're doing it because you're supposed to be, even if you're not. Just walk into a place you're not supposed to be with confidence, and they're gonna go like, "Yeah, they're supposed to be there."
Yeah, that's how you crash a wedding, right?
Right? Yeah, exactly. Just stroll right in. Don't do that. We did not condone that. Anyways,
no.
So, So when we talk about the other components, so like obviously we've been talking a lot about protein and other things in other episodes, but we haven't talked about fat a lot. And then also carbs and sugar are the other components because our diet's made up of fat, carbs, and sugar. Those are the three things. So these are the other two. And well, I say sugar, fat, carbs, and protein. I should have just said that.
Fair.
I mean, American diet, sugar, I would say, yes. But
unfortunately,
it's finding out like, let's differentiate between the types of sugar, what's good, what's not so good, and then like, how much is enough? How do we know about it? So how do you want to start there, Kimberly? I'll let you take the lead.
I know. I feel like sugar is so hard to talk about quickly because there's so much into it. I feel like
just go.
I would say, I know. Okay, so here we go. What we're worried about is added sugar. Okay, yes. Natural sugar, totally fine. The stuff in fruit, have it, please. Yeah. The stuff in plain, emphasis on plain dairy, totally fine. Okay. What we're talking about is stuff that is added to food for flavor during processing, whatever. Okay. So that is a specific line on the label that you would want to be paying attention to is the added sugar line. That's what that's what matters most. Now, general recommendation, how much sugar can you have in a day? Added sugar, listen to me already doing it. Added sugar is about 25 grams a day. Okay. Yeah. That equates to approximately 6 teaspoons if you want to measure it out. So you can absolutely eat sugar, but similar to saturated fat, sugar gives our food flavor and it's in everything. Like I challenge you to go to the grocery store and find a breakfast cereal or a protein bar or a granola bar that does not have sugar as one of the first 3 ingredients, right? It's in there and there's a lot of it. So we want 25 grams of added sugar a day or less. Okay. And I mean, I just mentioned a couple of our already like our high hitters, but a big one would also be liquid sources of sugar. So things like our coffee drinks, our sodas, right? Energy drinks, blah, blah, blah. And for anyone who has a sweet tooth that you really, really want to work on, I'm a fellow sweet tooth lover. I wish with everything in me that I liked salt more, but I don't. And anyway, what I would tell you is to cut back on or cut out liquid sources of sugar first, because they do saturate your liver quicker, right? Than does the kind you have to chew. But there's a whole host of other problems with our sugary drinks anyway, right? So that's a good place to start and ultimately hope to develop our palates a little bit, which I will say you can do. I've tried this before and you can absolutely adjust your palate to want less sweetness.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It takes time, but you can totally do it.
I mean, I have had an experience like personally from doing that where like funny story, funny because I find it funny. I don't know if you will find it funny, but I think it's funny. So I'm not a milk drinker. Apparently, like when I was 2, my mom said that I just shoved the glass over and I was like, no, I don't want to drink this. And I just stopped drinking it at 2 and I never touched it again. Like to this day, I won't touch it. I don't like milk.
That's fascinating.
Right. And like, it's quite odd because like I've spent, most of my life, like I would have dry cereal. Like I would not touch milk.
You wouldn't even, oh, that's so interesting.
I am a weird person. Don't get me wrong. I didn't like it, but like, what's the alternative when you don't have milk? Water? No, gross. So, or orange juice, which I did try one time and don't do that either.
Ooh, that sounds like punishment.
That's called 10-year-old me was desperate for not dry cereal. So
there you go.
But anyways, the big thing is when all these non-dairy milks started coming out. So we have like coconut milk and soy milk and almond milk and like rice milk. So almond milk first came out and it was the full sweetened vanilla flavor kind. So that was like 100 calories, like full sugar. We're looking at 26 plus grams of sugar, like the day's allotment. And I started drinking that just because it was like, well, now I can have things with quote unquote milk in it, which is weird. Like I've never done that before. And I got into it and started drinking those, which were high in sugar, which I'm not a soda drinker. So that was pretty high for me. Totally. And what happened was like, obviously this is before I started working here, but then I started working here at Positive Choice and slowly but surely when you work here, you start to change your habits. And I was inevitable. I can't keep drinking this much sugar. It's not good for me. So I need to wean myself off. So I bought the unsweetened almond milk that was vanilla flavor. And so I do this little like concoction where I'd pour in some of the sweetened one and some unsweetened. And I would keep doing it until it was majority unsweetened by the end of it. Right. And so then I got to a place where I could drink unsweetened almond milk, no problem. I was doing that in my coffees. So now I just do
Yes.
unsweetened.
Unsweetened. Love it. It's so true. It's almost like mind trickery, right? I've actually given that same suggestion for people who love, this is not the same, but for people who love white rice, start adding some brown rice into it and slowly shift the ratio, right? So you like start to just, again, change your palate to want something else. And it's totally something that's okay to do gradually, just like that. I mean, there's going to be health benefits with taking little bits out. So
exactly.
I love that you did that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it happens with when you work here, you just kind of do it. So unfortunately, it's just a side effect of working a positive choice. Or fortunately, I don't know.
Yes, both.
But yeah, I've definitely done that myself. So it is definitely possible. It took time though. It did not take like a week. This was like a couple of months of consistency, because, you know, there's that one day you sip, you're like, this isn't right. This is too meh. You know, so you have to kind of get there and slowly acclimate, because when they do this with people with sugary products too, where it's just like acclimation, you know, we get used to a certain level of sweetness. And so they keep outperforming one another with the brands. It's like one soda brand may have 50 grams of sugar in it. So the other soda brand's like, let's try 56. And then the other one comes back and go, well, let's try 61. And they just keep going.
Yes.
And they don't really have a ceiling. They just keep increasing the sugar to outcompete the other brands.
Yeah. And it all comes down to like consumer buying, right? I mean, it all comes down to us and what our palates like. And the more they do that to us, the more our palates crave higher sweetness, right? That's ultimately what we want and what we look for. And the more we raise that threshold, the harder it is to hit, you know?
But it happened gradually over the course of several weeks, I'm sure, or months even.
Yes,
so like
exactly.
The same way weaning yourself off works is the same way you got yourself there in the first place. It wasn't overnight.
Built up to it. Totally. Exactly. So you got to have some patience when you're working on this. And unfortunately, when we do cut back on sugar, we do start to notice, especially depending on how dramatically you do it, we do start to get signs of like withdrawal, right? Like where you like can have headaches and cravings and it's all you think about type of thing. That, just so you know, is very, very normal. And worthwhile to chug our way through ultimately from a health perspective. Cause I think we all know, right? Like, of course, sugar is an empty calorie, so it can result in weight gain, but, you know, it's also not great for our teeth, but there's also our blood sugars, right? I mean, there's like a whole host, there's inflammation, there's a whole host of things that sugar can ream in the body, honestly. So yeah, it's a good thing to be
absolutely watching. And it causes systemic inflammation. Like, it's just not ideal. Like, it's just not good for us. And
no,
obviously with the American diet, we have so much in our diet. So part of this conversation is really just recognizing like it's added sugar specifically that we're looking at. So that's the stuff that's like added to products that aren't naturally sweet. And then on top of that, you know, like people really get hung up sometimes because, you know, with type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes, people go like, oh, well, I can't have fruit because it's full of sugar. And like, here's the truth. I don't think I've ever met a single person in my life who had diabetes because they ate too much fruit, like ever.
Sorry. I say the same thing. It's true.
Yeah.
It's super true. I don't know anyone unhealthy because they eat too much produce. Yeah.
Yeah. Like not one person in my life have I ever met. And I've taught at Positive Choice for 12 years. I've never met anybody who has gotten diabetes as a result of fruit. That is just not a thing. And so if you're avoiding fruit because you're worried about sugar, it's not added, it's natural. It's a very healthy sugar, has lots of phytonutrients and a lot of fiber and water in it. So it's very good for you. And the amount of sugar in comparison to candy, it's no contest. Like we already know candy is going to win. It's going to have the most and it's all added. Whereas sure, you could say a banana has sugar in it and a lot more than other fruits. Same with pineapple or mango. But arguably, if you compare it to candy, it's still less.
Absolutely. Super accurate. And to your point, is accompanied with a lot of other nutrients that candy is not, right? Like things like fiber, antioxidants, whatever, all of that stuff is why natural sugar is fine for us to have. Same with the stuff in plain dairy. It's accompanied with vitamin D, protein, right? Stuff that again, makes the natural sugar not a problem. So yeah, it's not even I feel like you can't even compare them, right? It's like two completely different sources or types.
And the human body, like I said, but like we function off of glucose. Like that's what our main fuel source is most of the time, especially during activity. That's like when it's most important. So But the thing with human beings is we don't need to consume sugar per se. Like fruit is the exception, of course, but like we don't need to consume sweet things other than fruit because we can break carbohydrates down into sugar naturally. So like carbs have sugar in them. That's what carbs are. They're long chains of sugar. That's all they are. And when you eat them, your body breaks them down into sugar. So like, and that's not bad because you don't sit there and tell me, oh no, I ate celery, I'm going to get diabetes. Like that does not happen. Right?
Sorry.
It's true.
It's so true. Sorry, Melanie just did like a whole damsel in distress.
I did put my hand to my forehead and lean backwards. I did do that. You can't see that, but I was very dramatic.
Oh, that was awesome. That was so good. But it's true. It's so true. I mean, I feel like that should be good news, by the way, that like we can have those foods, but also, so to your point, sugar is pretty much there for like joy perhaps. And that's it. Like we don't need it foundationally, right? For literally anything else. So we enjoy the flavor, but we really, really here need to be mindful of how much we're having. Cause the last stat I heard, I don't know if you know if this has changed recently or not, but was that the average American consumes like 152 pounds of added sugar a year, which is a whole human amount, right? Like that's crazy.
It's a human-sized amount of sugar.
Sugar. Yes. And I had a patient not believe me on this when I said it in class once. And I was just kind of like, that's fine. They came back to class the next week and they lived with, it was like their mother-in-law, I think, or something. And their mother-in-law had consumed a 5-pound bag of white sugar just for her coffee within the last 7 days since I saw her last. And she was like, okay, I believe you. And I was like, I do too.
I mean, I believe me also. Goodness gracious. Like, that's a lot of sugar.
It's a lot just for coffee.
But you know, people don't think about this stuff. You go to coffee chains and you pick up like a blended coffee drink that could have anywhere of like 50 to like 90 grams of sugar in it.
Exactly. And we don't think about it because 1, it tastes good, but 2, sugar's really not that high in calories. And that's why we're like, whatever about it, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so like, we're not telling you guys you can't have sugar. I think everything in moderation. Like I'm not saying you have to exclusively only eat fruit, never have a cupcake again. Like that's mean. I would never do that.
Right. Me neither.
It's just about recognizing that we know sugar is not a health food. So we don't want to have it in excess. Ideally get it from fruit or natural sources because your body likes those a lot better than added sugar anyways.
Yes.
And you know, sticking with the healthy carbohydrates like vegetables and fruits, those are providing healthy carbs that can be broken down into healthy sugars in your system that aren't going to have negative consequences long term. Whereas a cupcake or a cookie or, you know, maybe like a quote unquote, like highly processed bar would, right? So we just have to be paying attention, right?
Yes, exactly right. And like I said, I'm a sweet tooth lover. It's not like I don't eat any sugar at all. Okay. Like I gotta have me some dark chocolate or something. But I get asked like, okay, then what's our best sources? Now keep in mind, all of this counts as added sugar as well, right?
Yes.
But generally something like honey, a organic maple syrup, right? Like a pure, I guess I'm looking for the word pure maple syrup.
Pure
something
maple
like
syrup.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Some of the maple syrups out there are just like corn syrup with maple flavor.
Yes. Thank you. They're like, I think they're sometimes called breakfast syrups, but anyway, you want a pure maple syrup. That's the word I'm looking for. That should be the only ingredient is the maple syrup. Dates is a very common sweetener as well. Blackstrap molasses. So, things like that will give you some natural sweetness with some added, like there's beneficial, vitamins and minerals in a lot of those things as well. But just keep in mind that they do count towards your added sugar count, right? Like if you're going to put honey in your tea or something like that, it does count as added sugar.
I get that. And agave is fine too, actually, if I'm not mistaken. But like, I get that all the time where people are like, well, honey is naturally occurring. It's from bees. I'm like, yeah, but then once you add it to something that didn't have honey in it, it's an added sugar. Cause like, you know, like if you have yogurt is yogurt. Without honey, it is just yogurt. It's fine. And then you add honey, that's added sugar.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Even if the source originating was, you know, natural and whatever. Yeah, definitely counts. Another one I'd throw in there is pure like stevia. The powdered stuff often has additives. But
that's not a sugar though. That's a sweet.
Well, true. But that's true. But it would add, the sensation of the sensation. Yes. The tastation, whatever. Of
I think in terms of like
to your food.
Long-term consequences of stevia is like the least harmful on that list.
Correct. Yeah. I would agree with that. But it gives you the
Yeah.
sweet flavor. Although, okay, I'll be honest, I don't delve into stevia too much, but I hear that when you get the right stuff where the ingredient is just stevia, it's actually not that sweet. I don't know if you've messed with it too much because the additives, they have a lot of additives in the powdered kind.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I haven't personally messed with it too much myself, so I don't know, but I rely on what people tell me. I have heard that if it's pure stevia, it's also a little bitter.
Yep. Well, there you go. That would blunt some of that sweet response.
Yeah, like that's usually probably why it's not as sweet. It's a little bitter, but that's just the nature of stevia. But like monk fruit's the other one that's come out recently that's made from like a non-nutritive sweetener as well. So you can definitely consume that because that doesn't really have any negatives. It's been used in China for like hundreds of years. So
yes. What I hear about monk fruit is it's incredibly sweet. So you want to just practice like how much. Yeah, exactly. A little bit goes a long way with that one. Yeah, a
little bit goes a long way. I like that. Just moderation for our sweeteners.
Right.
But the long and the short of it is everything in moderation is really the point we're making here.
Yeah.
More of the plant-based stuff. So plant-based oils, plant-based sweeteners, plant-based things are usually your best bet. I'm not saying you have to be plant-based, but just finding that most of our health and nutrition comes from plants. So having more of those in our diet, being moderate about what we're eating otherwise, and then, not blaming carrots for bad things. It's
Don't
not the
be
carrot's
afraid.
fault. The carrot didn't do anything. The carrot was doing his job being a carrot. I know. They get such a bad rap.
They do. Apples too. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the produce.
Exactly. That's our takeaway. Don't be afraid of produce.
There we go.
And as confusing as it is out there, fruits and vegetables are never a bad option. Ever.
100%. We like our single ingredient foods.
Yes, we do. Health.
Yeah,
as I say.
health.
Health. All right. Well, unfortunately, it's about that time, Kimberly.
It always goes, I say this every time, but that really did go by fast.
It did. Anyway. It went by. It was like, it's currently at 41 minutes. So like, this is way longer than I planned. And you have to get going.
That's my fault.
We're going to get going. That's okay. But thank you, everybody who was listening. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure you comment below. But with that being said, until next time, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.